Hey guys, what is up? Ncaa 31 here. This is a game of NCAA 14. A little late getting this video. I wanted to get it out Monday or Tuesday, but hey, whatever. Um, as you see here, I'm playing Navy versus UCF from this past week. That was a big game for UCF. Well, big game for Navy too, but more so for UCF as they have a legit shot to get the non-Power 5 conference bid to a good New Year's Six bowl game. Them and USF seems to be on a collision course for that last game of the season to determine that. Neither of them play anybody the rest of the way. I mean, USF is at 19, I think, or I'm going to look at the polls here right now. They're 17, and UCF is, what is UCF ranked? UCF is 18, so they're going to be in that mid to low teens category for quite some time until they play each other. And it'll be fun to see one of those two get a chance at the New Year's Six bowl game. Both those teams have coaches that I like a lot. Scott Frost at UCF and Charlie Strong at USF, and they're both really fun, dynamic, offensive teams to watch, getting it done in different ways. Scott Frost has brought that Oregon spread option influence that he learned under Chip Kelly, and he also has mingled in some modernized shotgun versions of that power Nebraska style running game. But out of the gun, and plus you have play action and RPOs off of that, they do a really good job offensively. In USF, Charlie Strong brought the offensive coordinator he had with him from Texas over to USF, and they're running that Art Briles style of Baylor spread offense. Defensively, it's hard to really tell just how good they are because the level of competition, it doesn't really scare you that much. I mean, both are in the top 25 in scoring defense. Just going by the eye test, I'm living in the Central Florida area. I've seen a lot of both of them. I think it's basically a wash, so I think that's a coin flip game when those two meet. And it's going to be a very fun game. My Notre Dame Fighting Irish, they are now up to number 9 in the polls, and they still have some pretty quality games left. They beat USC, and they beat them pretty soundly. Sam Darnold looks awful this year. Awful. Something's not right there. Either the talent around him isn't that great, something's not right with him physically, maybe the coaching is kind of iffy, maybe all of the above, but he looks completely different. Nowhere close to the same guys last year. And ND, took it to him pretty well. And Notre Dame has some big games left. They have number 14 NC State this week. They have Wake the following week. Then number 8 Miami. Then they close with Navy and Stanford. And I believe if my Fighting Irish run the table, that the playoff committee is not leaving a one-loss Irish team out of the mix. Say what you want about Notre Dame's relevance, that kind of goes to the territory of being, a brand in college football. And Notre Dame, is still that. And attempting to look at them objectively, I love this team. I love how they play. There's a couple of things that worry me a little bit, but I'll tell you what I like. They have, again, a defined identity on both sides of the ball. That's been missing for a couple of years now, since the 2012 team that got to the title game. Defensively, they've been a mess since Diaco left. Brian Van Gorder, you guys have seen me curse him out like a madman over Twitter the past few years. He was a nightmare. They got rid of him. And Mike Elko, he has really streamlined what they do and has given them a defined defensive structure. They're basically running a carbon copy of TCU's 4-2-5 under. And I'm actually surprised by how well and how quickly it's taken on. They can get a pass rush, rushing 4 again, finally. They haven't had that since the Stephon Tuitt, Prince Shembo, Sheldon Day, Capron Lewis Moore days. They have thumpers on the back end again, and you're not seeing these crazy busts in coverage anymore. Basically, the way the system works is that the defensive front and secondary calls are not tied to each other. The linebacker sets the front for the 4-down lineman and the 2 backers, and the free safety and the weak side safety, they split the secondary in half and make their calls accordingly. So you have a lot of combo coverages where one side of the field may be playing a match coverage, the other side may be playing a cover 2, for example. You're seeing a lot of match quarters. You're seeing a lot of double A gap and B gap blitzes tied to secondary calls. And it allows the players to play fast and loose because they're not overly burdened with what everyone else is doing. They can just focus on the call either for their front if they're playing on a defensive line or their half of the secondary. That's an overly simplistic breakdown of it, but it works really well. And offensively, they've become a smash mouth spread team. The offensive line is great. The backs are great. Josh Adams is averaging freaking 10 yards a carry. I mean, for crying out loud. And Brandon Winbush, he runs like a slot receiver. He reminds me of Nick Marshall. He's that type of dynamic runner. And in college football, you can win with that type of quarterback. And if the football gods bless you with a guy who can do both, like a Cam Newton or a Marcus Mariota, then you're just, positively giddy. My only concern is that when he has to throw outside of screens, play action, and RPOs, it's not very pretty. He's barely a 50% passer, and while I believe that completion percentage can sometimes be overrated, sometimes it's a product of the scheme and the type of throws you're being asked to make. In this case, when he's asked to throw and make reads off a straight drop back, he's pretty weak, and the only team that's been able to expose that so far has been Georgia. And he's going to face two more athletic defenses like that in NC State and Miami, and he's simply going to have to make those plays. The receivers are good enough, the backs and tight ends and line are good enough. He's just going to have to deliver when he's put in those situations, and it's going to happen. Your quarterback's going to have to face a situation where he has to deliver the ball from the pocket at some point. And if he can't do that, then you're going to have a 3-loss season. If he can, things are going to get very fun. So that's my Fighting Irish. Now, as far as Penn State is concerned, Penn State knocking off Michigan this week, kind of exposing Michigan as a team that's going to be in a bit of a rebuilding mode this year. Michigan lost a lot of quality people on defense, and not everybody's Alabama. Simple as that. And offensively, Harbaugh hasn't had a good offense in quite some time now, since Andrew Luck, really. I mean, he continues to trot out these offenses at Michigan that are just god-awful. That's going to have to change in the not-too-distant future, but I think that game was more about Penn State being for real. Leading the country in scoring defense. And Saquon Barkley, he looks and plays like a bigger Reggie Bush. You throw in Deshaun Hamilton, he's a good-looking wide receiver. And Trace McSorley, he's a nice little dual-threat quarterback. He surprised me. I didn't think he was, that good. This is going to sound blasphemous, but he's kind of like he reminded me of a poor man's Colt McCoy. A really poor man's version of Colt McCoy. He's a small guy. He can run it better than you think. And the guy's a good thrower. So when you put, Saquon Barkley with a guy who can run zone read, and they do some clever stuff off of that. They had a play where Saquon Barkley will take a direct snap, and the quarterback would block backside like a zone split play. And he also gets a lot of keep opportunities because the defense is always crashing down on Barkley. Not easy to deal with. They are a legit threat to the potential Alabama-Clemson trilogy, and I fully expect them to expose Ohio State. I am not a believer in J.T. Barrett. I'm not a believer in that team. I don't care that J.T. Barrett has 21 TDs and 1 INT. Every time he faces a defense that is good, he looks horrible. He gets humiliated because, A, they don't have the receivers like Michael Thomas and Devin Smith anymore to bail him out, and that forces him to have to read defenses on his own, and he's just not that type of quarterback. So until he proves it, I'm going to be skeptical. And you got Wisconsin sitting out there at number 5. No one ever pays any attention to Wisconsin. Wisconsin's a better version of Iowa. They're always a good, well-coached, sound football team with zero sex appeal. They're like that girl who on the look side is maybe a 6.5 out of 10. On her best day, she's a 7, but she's cool as hell to be around. That's Wisconsin. And Georgia, for a team sitting at number 3, they're not getting a whole heck of a lot of pub either, and they've been outstanding. Georgia's been playing really well. I mean, Tennessee's a mess, but you still don't see them get shut out 41-0 very often. They bombed a ranked Mississippi State team. And yeah, you do have your App States and your Sanfords. You have Vandy and Mizzou, but they beat a good Notre Dame team as well. And they just look the part. They look like a power team. but they likely won't get tested again until Auburn in mid-November. And TCU is kind of in the same boat as well. You know, the Big 12, they don't get a whole heck of a lot of respect in general. It's like when the Big 12 teams win, they don't take them seriously, but when they lose, they get hammered as far as the perception is concerned, because the reputation that that league has is that no one plays any defense. So you have a win against Oklahoma State, that was number 6. They beat West Virginia. They have a ranked Iowa State team left, and God knows what you get out of Oklahoma. A typical Oklahoma season. An unexplainable loss, yet they're still hanging in the fringes, and they'll probably end up with a 2-loss season, and you wonder, you know, why. That's just classic Oklahoma. But hey, the conference has a championship game now. I think they recognize that they have a perception problem. Let's see if having a title game helps them out or if it hurts them. Let's assume that TCU wins out and Notre Dame wins out. Yeah, I could see Notre Dame getting in ahead of a TCU. That's very likely to happen, you know, assuming all things being equal and all things play out to force the committee to choose between those two teams. Because at the end of the day, yeah, you want the 4 most deserving teams in there, but it's also a business, and they absolutely consider who's going to bring the most eyeballs to the TV sets and the most fannies into the seats. That's just a reality. So that's how things stand at the top of the college football world. Miami, I just don't know how good Miami's quarterback is, to tell you the truth. I mean, I don't watch Miami every week, but usually when a quarterback just has that shaky look to him, he usually is. And as good a coach as Mark Richt is when it comes to recruiting, he has some weird game days. He really does. He makes some calls that makes you wonder sometimes. They got to play Vatek still. They have ND left. And they have at the back end of their schedule Virginia and Pitt. The games that they should win, but those are also games against programs that have a reputation for being just a pain in the ass when, you know, the mood strikes them. So who knows? The Pac-12 is pretty disappointing. I mean, UCLA, you can never trust UCLA. Never, ever, ever. I touched on USC earlier. Who else out there? Washington State had a really bizarre loss to Cal. Washington had a weird loss. Oregon is still kind of trying to find their way a little bit. Oregon's, you know, really down. I don't know if Oregon will ever get back to what they were under Chip. Stanford's always floating around the Pac-12. They're 5-2, ranked 20, but they're in first place in the Pac-12 North, so they're always right in the mix. And then you have Arizona. Watch out for Arizona the rest of the way. Arizona, Rich Rod may have found a quarterback finally. They're 5-2 overall, 3-1 the Pac-12 South, with Wazoo this week and USC next. And this Khalil Tate kid, this kid has looked downright Pat Whitish. I mean, the guy has 700 yards rushing in 5 games, and he's thrown for 4 TDs. So they can make things interesting. Long live the read option and the 3-3-5 stack. Go Rich Rod. That'd be fun to see Rich Rod, you know, make some noise again. It's been a while. It's been a really long time since Rich Rod has, you know, been relevant. You know, Michigan was a disaster for him, and West Virginia was a long time ago now. So, yeah, get cracking, Rich Rod. Make it happen. So that's really it. We're starting to get into the really fun time of the college football season. Late October into November, the stakes get higher, and weird things tend to happen. So, looking forward to see how it all plays out. Hope you guys enjoy. I will talk to you all later. Peace.